wonderful season to you all. Again, I'm expressing thanks to you who have been with me and my special panelists throughout the year on the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. This is the second part of an insight into a generation of teachers who graduated from Mico College at the time when the colleges had to churn out people into the classrooms in 2 years, followed by a year of internship when the intern teacher was pretty much on his or her own in the classroom and doing seminars and research projects to finish the certificate. You got paid too, and not peanuts. With my salary in the last month of internship, I was able to pay my return fare to London and have some spending money with the exchange rate at 2 Jamaican dollars to a pound sterling. And I just walked into the High Commission downtown and got a visa without any long wait. You didn't even need a visa, really. Times have changed. I pointed out in part one last week that this was a time of great change in Jamaican education. At the start of the 1970s, when teachers' colleges board and tuition were still free. That's a matter to which several of the members of the class of 1973 referred during interviews with me and during the 50th anniversary retreat at Bahia Principe in St. Anne a few weeks ago. Frankly speaking, many said they could not make it or wondered what they'd be today if they did not have the ladder of free education, free tuition in college. Frankly speaking, I've long been a convert to the idea that poor societies like this have the responsibility of enabling tertiary education for everyone who qualifies, and a greater need, frankly speaking, of our poor societies is to organize the education system and give it quality for as many as possible to qualify. But I digress. A common thread of the reunion and talking point was that so many of those who left Mico in 1973, frankly speaking, went on to higher education and other careers in particular. It appears that the majority migrated. So I'm saying this migration thing is really not so new after all, which leaves questions and simultaneously speaks to the high quality of education for some in Jamaica. So here we are now chatting to Miconians, all Jamaicans who took so many different paths over 50 years, and to have been able to come together after all that time was a blessing. Let's start with Dorette Gale. She tells her own story.
I'm Dorette Gale, and I left Mico in 1973 and went to teach at Kingston Senior School at the time and spent, I think maybe about until 1980. In that time, I went to university and did my first degree and went back and did a year at senior school, and then I left and went to Hampton School where I spent I was there until I think 1987.
And were you enjoying it?
Oh, Hampton School was the ideal classroom to teach in. Students behaved very well. It was always very remarkable. You know, such a difference from where I started.
Senior school.
But in both cases there are virtues. Because senior school, the kids were very, very grateful for the fact that I was teaching them.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I spent 1 year at Mirror Grove And then I decided I needed a change and entered into banking.
And so many people I've talked to in these interviews tell me they come out of teaching. Why did you come out of teaching?
I felt that I had reached a zenith, a point where the strategies and all the things that I'd learned how to control or discipline students, felt that they were a little bit outdated for the students I was dealing with. And so I felt I need to go someplace else and challenge myself to see if I could do something else. The only place that I ended up was going into the bank. It was a totally different scene from being in the classroom. But I spent 13 years, eventually ended up at the NCB Staff Training Center. When the opportunity came for redundancy, after 13 years, I got my redundancy and I migrated to the United States of America.
Colorful life. And when you went to the US, you went back into teaching?
I went back into teaching at the University of the West, back into the United States. Teaching first in Florida and then in Delaware. So after 20 years of teaching, I retired in 2020 from the high school.
Yeah. Would you recommend teaching to young people right now?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah. Oh yes, I would. There's so much you can learn, the service you can give to students. I mean, one of the first students that I met at Kingston Senior School is my friend today, and she's my travel companion.
Really?
And we travel together, going to different places in the world. So that's a blessing of the Lord. That's a blessing in my life because of that interaction.
That's Dorrit Gale. Here now is Thomas Aldridge. He's still living abroad, too.
Oh, well, I think for me personally, entering Mico in 1971 was a blessing. A lot of people in my circumstance, from the country, really have not enough money.
What parish were you coming from?
St. Thomas, from Nearly St. Thomas. It was a blessing for us, and the government provided opportunity for us to go to Mico at no cost. And entering Mico was something that I looked forward to, because I knew people went before me and they told me about all what they learned. I've observed my opponents over the years and how they have gotten, they have progressed. Right. 50 years after, I'm looking at the same situation. Students are charged for everything that they do. There's nothing free. So they have to be getting funding, scholarships, and help from outside to finance their education. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that because everything has changed. Morality, society has changed. And the only thing I have as a problem with me in Jamaica is how backward we are going when it comes to crime and, social change. We're not going forward. Everything is rolling backward because of how people think. And we have no love for brothers. We have no care. We don't have any respect for life. And most people want everything.
And don't we see most people having more possessions and better infrastructure?
Exactly. That is a plus. But then there's still that trickle-down effect where some people have nothing and the majority has a big middle class and there's a bottom level. So if they could just find a way to kind of spread the wealth.
And how you feel about the future, short-term future?
I am heartened because of what I've been seeing around Ireland. New roads, infrastructure, education. I think our young people are really making strides with education, and sometimes it's really encouraging. I just hope that the government can find enough employment for people coming to college because that's the problem.
And now, Maxine Anderson. She served in the diplomatic corps overseas for Jamaica and is back home. One of the few.
I've had a change of career. I moved from a regular classroom teacher to serving in the diplomatic services. I served in Miami as well as in Washington, D.C. I came back to Jamaica after my contract ended and decided to go into special education, which I have been doing since. And although I'm retired from government services, I work privately. I do a lot of psychoeducational assessments because there's a great need in Jamaica, because there are many children who have all sorts of learning disabilities. So I work along with a psychologist just to do the assessments, make recommendations to enable these children.
So you are not really retired, Maxine, and you are still in education.
Yes, I am still once a teacher, always a teacher.
And the last thing I want to ask you, when you look back from here 50 years ago, what's the big difference to you?
Well, what I'm finding now, there are more children with learning disabilities. I don't know if at that time it was not so easily identifiable. But now I am seeing so many classes, so many schools are calling to say the children are not performing at their grade levels, they're not reading, and there are a lot of behavioral problems as well, because if they're not reading, they are going to create situations to distract the class or the teacher from carrying out the lessons.
Okay, beautiful. And finally, we'll close with Henrietta Bird, who also changed careers and is still overseas.
Well, my name is Henrietta Bird Keith. I am in the golden age of 70, and looking back 50 years ago, we went from being party girl to now a stable adult. Meaning that the things we enjoyed yesterday, yes, we still enjoy them today, but with a difference. And we look back and see our college days, we were very blessed to have all the things that we needed for college and for life. And today, when you look back at the students in the college, there's so much need, and we're trying to do something to help to satisfy that need. I have changed careers from a teacher to a nurse, but it's same helping, it's service, and it's really wonderful to deal with people on a one-to-one basis. And so, although I'm retired, I still can't drop that need to help.
Henrietta, I've talked to a lot of people. Maxine here just said she changed careers too. Why so many people change careers from teaching if it's such a wonderful profession? A little kid who is listening to this now and saying, but hold on a minute, all of these people who are successful have gone on to something else.
No, it's not necessary, but teaching is a foundation. No matter where you go as a teacher, you'll always be a teacher, because you will always be teaching somebody something or learning from somebody something that you don't know. So it's beneficial in every way.
Brain drain, teacher migration, free education, teaching as a career. Are we on the up or down? All of those issues are matters for your thoughts, frankly speaking. Here's the refrain. Action, please. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so now. It's easy. It's Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. From Desmond Richards, Winnie Anderson Brown, Crystal Cameron, Patrick Maitland, and Mary White. Here's wishing you all a safe and wonderful season, full of love and good cheer, and a bright and prosperous new year. I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then,